it comes with experience, most definitely. That's why, the psychological aspect does play a part, is to, when there's a huge crash in the market, it's imperative to just keep your composure, to keep emotion out of it, and then you'll, be able to think logically.
Hello everyone and welcome to our latest Twitter Live. My name is Josh Gilbert, a market analyst here at eToro. It's a pleasure to have you all back with us again today. Look, we have a very busy week in markets this week, just the small hurdle of the US elections to get through and a couple of rate decisions from central banks across the world. But we wanted to take a quick look at crypto this week. We neared an all-time high for Bitcoin last week. So we're closing back in on those highs that we saw at the start of this year. And on that, a quick reminder, if you haven't already, follow the eToro Australia page for the latest on markets, and also head over to our YouTube channel as well. There's a wealth of content on there, podcast, videos, guides, everything that you need, and on the eToro Academy as well. So I mentioned we're going to be talking crypto. Today, I'm going to be chatting with Mimi Ho. She is an elite popular investor on eToro with over 1,000 copiers. Her primary focus is on crypto assets, innovation, and technology. Mimi has a degree in psychology and has over 12 years of investment experience. Mimi, it is great to have you with us today. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
Good. Yeah. It's a pleasure to have you with us. And as you say, it's quite an exciting time for crypto. As you say, nearing back in on those all-time highs. So let's dive into it and let's talk about that strong run that we have had recently. We kind of, for a while there, Mimi, we kind of, sort of sat between prices. We kind of stayed a little bit range bound, but then just recently we sort of saw that pick up. What key factors do you think have contributed to that sort of positive momentum in the market in recent weeks?
Yeah, you mentioned range there. So, for me, I personally think that the crypto bear market was over a while ago. And so if we're talking about Bitcoin specifically, it has been trading within a specific range. So in a consolidation phase, we're seeing between like 52,000 and 70,000. And so it's been trading through that range for a while. If you look at the charts, it's quite a bullish setup for Bitcoin specifically. And when we talk about the crypto market, we do look at Bitcoin because Bitcoin is still king, still leader of the pack. And it did break out just last week. Obviously, the previous days there has been some volatility, but that is a result of the upcoming US elections, which has been a catalyst in terms of driving that strength. But in terms of other factors would also be, I would say there's quite a spotlight on crypto in terms of institutional attention. And so there's been a lot of key players in the industry and outside of the industry that have come out and spoken highly of crypto. Everyone is watching this election. Everyone is watching what's happening in the US. So that in itself are the main driving factors in terms of crypto strength. I can't really say in terms of retail adoption at the moment, because what we're seeing is that in terms of interest in Bitcoin, when you look at the Google searches, it's still quite low, which in itself is quite exciting, because what we're seeing is that the money that's flowing in is likely from institutional funds and also whales. And then once it picks up, we might see then retail investors come on board, and that would just drive up the market even more.
Yeah, you make a really great point there in talking about retail, because again, as a retail broker, it's something that we absolutely notice, right? And in terms of institutions coming in, again, we probably don't think we've seen that sort of euphoria phase from retail investors that we've had in the past, especially when we're sort of nearing in on those all-time highs. So that I think is a really exciting catalyst that could keep driving us higher, as you say. Looking ahead then, are there any sort of milestones or events that you're sort of looking at in the near term that could be catalysts, that could be drivers that either could drive us higher, but also could maybe set us back a little bit as well? Anything you're focusing on?
So going back to the elections, particularly, I think one of the misconceptions at the moment is that everyone is so focused on this election that if there is the pro crypto candidate that wins, so Donald Trump, if that happens, then it will drive up the market. If Kamala Harris wins, then there will be a pullback. However, the misconception is that there should be a long-term focus on what will happen with the crypto space. Whoever wins doesn't really matter so much. What will happen to what the impact it will have on the market will be short-lived. The other thing to take into consideration is there's around about $200 million worth of crypto funds that are being donated to the US elections for both parties. So we're seeing not just money flowing in from crypto companies to the pro-crypto candidate. It's also for Kamala Harris as well, the Democratic Party. And so what this means is that the crypto industry is more focused not so much on who will win, but more the long-term trajectory of the industry, ensuring that there's progression, that the development will be pushed, there'll be innovation long-term. And I think the significant catalyst would be the FOMC meeting, so the Federal Reserve meeting post-elections. What will be said in that meeting, any projections, the next interest rate cut, which likely may have already been factored into markets. But it's that meeting that will set the tone for the future and particularly the next 12 months for the crypto market. So those are the two key catalysts. Then I would also look at, one of the things that really stands out to me in terms of, I like to look at the broader picture. So the bigger picture is, I like to delve into psychology as well, is that, we may be witnessing in the history of mankind the biggest wealth transfer, generational wealth transfer from baby boomers to generation XYZ. So then you think about how are these generations living? We're living in a more digital world, and so these inheritances will then flow into digital assets, investing into digital assets, and that's huge for the crypto industry.
Yeah. And I think that in terms of the points you mentioned there, having a look at the surveys that we've run here at eToro in the past, crypto is much more favorable with the sort of the younger generation, Gen Z, and that sort of technology behind that as well. And then just coming back to the US elections, some really great points that you make. And I think a key point that you sort of mentioned was that crypto, I think, is inevitable at this point. So it doesn't really matter, as you say, in terms of who gets in. Yes, at this stage, it is very clear that Trump is the pro candidate. He's the standout, and I think that's why we saw Bitcoin closing on those all-time highs last week, because if we looked at sort of betting markets, he'd sort of run away with it almost, but that is now much closer. Having a read today, the news is sort of basically calling this the closest election in history. So look, going to be a very interesting week on that side, but as you say, crypto seems to be inevitable. So whatever happens, that technology, that trajectory is going to sort of continue either way. Mimi, you're very involved in the crypto space in terms of knowledge, in terms of the portfolio that you build for clients here at eToro. I want to just maybe ask you if there's any other assets outside of Bitcoin that excite you at the moment, and why that is. Any sort of assets, any crypto assets that are sort of standing out for you and exciting you at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, aside from the top 10, and I do focus on my portfolio in terms of the way it's structured, is I am heavily invested into crypto, but more so the ones that have really withstood the test of time. So you're talking about the giants like Bitcoin, Ethereum. I've got Ripple in there, Solana, and Binance, BNB. So in terms of other areas that I'm really excited about is AI and gaming, when we're talking about tokens, and also the industry. But in terms of AI, that's a very exciting and untapped area. If you're looking at AI tokens alone, the current market cap approximately is about 24 billion, give or take. Overall, that's all AI tokens. And then you compare that to meme coins, right? Just one of the meme coins that we all know of, Dogecoin. Dogecoin is around 22 billion, just Dogecoin alone. So that just shows you how much room there is to grow in AI. And the way we're moving at the moment, AI it's still new. It's still in its infancy. There's still a lot of bugs and teething issues, but that comes with anything anything new, innovative products, teething problems. But AI is very, very exciting to me. And when you think about AI and gaming, there's gaming tokens as well. AI will get to a point where it will be developing these games, and everyone will be rushing to get on board. And it's like I said, it's the market cap is so low compared to everything else, and it's definitely a very exciting industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And I look, I mean, even in traditional markets, when we look at AI and how that's sort of taken over, I mean, all we have to look at is the
Yeah,
rise of Nvidia in the traditional markets. And I think you're right. Like, it probably hasn't flown into crypto, maybe in the same way as we have seen in traditional markets. We look at some of those, big names, Microsoft, Alphabet, all those companies last week, all increasing their capital expenditures, and a lot of that is in AI, and most of that money is going straight towards Nvidia as well. So a bit of an early preview on Nvidia's earnings there, probably going to be another solid one. But yeah, a very interesting point about the sort of the size of the opportunity, I think, for AI in crypto and gaming as well. Two very exciting sectors. And also, if we look at Bitcoin at the moment as well, that dominance that Bitcoin is ultimately having on the market, I think, is over 60%, and that usually means that those altcoins or the smaller coins are going to struggle a little bit more. So very excited for when we maybe see less Bitcoin dominance over time, and then we
yeah.
continue to see those smaller assets sort of coming through. And I think AI will be a big part of that as well. We spoke at the top of the episode, Mimi, about institutions. You spoke about sort of a bigger, broader adoption of these assets from institutions. And a lot of that has come from the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs coming to market. Obviously, Ethereum more recently, Bitcoin at the start of the year, again, getting SEC approval, a massive milestone for the crypto space. How do you see these products impacting the broader adoption of crypto assets? And then, how do you think it will aid that sort of future growth of crypto assets?
Mm. So the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs were that was a huge milestone for the industry. And what this allows is just a simpler and easier way to get into invest into cryptos, particularly the people who don't want the fuss of worrying about keys and exchanges and wallets and want to diversify their portfolio a little bit. It provides a much easier and simpler way and access to be able to invest in and have a little bit of crypto in their portfolios. So that's a huge milestone. Also drives, I guess the first step, one of the biggest first steps for mainstream adoption, and for institutional adoption as well. So that in itself is a huge milestone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, as you mentioned there, those sort of ETFs give us that sort of traditional product, and it sort of legitimizes the crypto space a little bit more. It increases that sort of trust and allows those assets to be included in, new portfolios. So superannuation here in Australia, pensions over in, Europe, and obviously in the US as well. So, BlackRock have obviously put a lot of push behind their ETFs, those Bitcoin ETFs, and there's lots of mention about sort of even just allocating a very small percentage of crypto assets to a portfolio over time. So even if we begin to see, investment portfolios gathering 1%, 2% over time exposure to crypto, that is massive, especially when we're talking about BlackRock, the biggest asset manager in the world with trillions and trillions of dollars assets under management. It is a very exciting time, and as you say, a very big milestone for crypto. Mimi, for those that are maybe slightly newer to crypto, as I said earlier, you've been in crypto for a very long time now, very experienced within the crypto space. And obviously you have a lot of people following and copying you. So I'd like to maybe just see if you have found over time any sort of misconceptions that maybe people have when it comes to sort of crypto, maybe mistakes that people make, and what are those, and how do you then think people can better educate themselves on the crypto market?
Yeah, look, I never think that I ever know enough. People say, look, we want to speak to you. You're the crypto expert. I'm like, I'm really not. There's so much to learn, and especially with technology in general. Like I've got an IT background, ran an IT business back in the day, and there is just the technology is moving at such a phenomenal rate that it's every day you wake up, there's something new. And so I just make sure that I'm always on top of the game with the research, knowledge, and especially it's very important going a little bit off tangent, but I'll get back to the question, is that it's really important to have a community, to build a community. And that's what I try and do, is to either it's colleagues, family, friends, acquaintances who are in the industry, who have the same passion. And you get a bit of leverage there in terms of like just speeding up that knowledge. And so that's one thing, is do your own research is very important if people are getting into crypto. In terms of misconceptions, there is still that stigma around the crypto industry and scams. You know, crypto and scams are still like the narrative. And one thing I always like to point out is that in terms of scams and all that, and quick money making schemes, where people tend to lose money, cash and illegal activity, cash is still king when it comes to illegal activity and scams. It's just that with crypto, it's just a lot easier, and it's new, and there's leverage there. But misconceptions is that just ensure that you don't just follow anybody on social media, even experts or people who are in the field, who are investors who have experience, such as myself. Take the advice and opinions as a guide only, and then do your own research, and then put your money where your convictions are. Don't take those opinions and advice as like concrete, definitive decisions to make. That would be one misconception. Yeah, to be able to like steer away from the scams and the quick money making schemes.
Of course, and I think that's a very good point, because I think everywhere in life, whether you say it's cash, whether it's whatever we do, unfortunately, there is always going to be that. There is always going to be somebody, bad actors, let's say, within whatever we do. So whether that be in crypto, whether that be in traditional markets, whatever. So again, doing your own research, having that knowledge, and you made a great point right at the top there that you can never know enough, right? Learning, educating yourself. Fantastic tools, wherever it be, either on the eToro feed, over on YouTube, watching videos. But again, coming back and doing that research and sort of building a concrete view for yourself is very important as well. And of course, if you're not sure on crypto assets, then head over to the eToro Academy. There's guides, breakdowns of where to get started on crypto assets, right from the beginning, right through to even if you're an advanced investor as well. We can help with everything there. So please feel free to go and check that out. Mimi, you spoke a little bit there about building a community. You are, as I said earlier, an elite popular investor at eToro. You've got thousands of people following you. I think we're actually, over 30,000 people that follow you on eToro. So lots of people looking to you for that vision, that outlook on markets. So I want to talk a little bit about your portfolio. I want to talk to you about how you've built it over time, and particularly why crypto stood out to you over other assets.
Yeah, to be honest, like in the very early days, it was a lot of trial and error. Just getting to understand the crypto space, but investing in general is a lot of trial and error. So in the beginning, I mean, I was pretty much 100% in crypto, and then I learned over time, the top key things to becoming a successful investor is to diversify. That's very important. And over time, it really evolved because I was in IT. I've always been very, very passionate about technology. In terms of how I structure my portfolio over time, it really is to ensure that it's authentic to myself. That's one key thing. Anything that I invest in, not every single asset, but I say most of it would be something I'm extremely passionate about. I'm extremely passionate about technology, innovation. I like to, again, look at the bigger picture. Where is life heading? Where are we all heading? We're heading towards a more digital age. How is it shaping our behavior and the way we're thinking? Take, for example, I can only speak for myself, but lately I've seen myself shifting away from Google, searching on Google, and going straight to ChatGPT. And that's a behavior that I've observed in myself. I'm sure a lot of people have been doing that. It's just a lot quicker way. Don't use ChatGPT as a means to do your work for you, but more so as to improve your work and to speed things up and make things a lot more seamless. So that's one behavior that I've learned. And so when I structure my portfolio, I look at the sectors that are going to shape the future. And obviously, money comes into play, and we all love to obviously make some profit, a lot of profit, but I always ensure that it's authentic to myself, and the way it's evolved is diversification. Crypto diversifying in crypto is not so much diversification. That's one big lesson that I learned. So I've got it's predominantly crypto, but also I've got stocks and ETFs that reflect my passion, which is technology, and I've got some renewable energy that crossover as well, which is the EV sector.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got some Tesla, Neo Inc. as well. So that, in a sense, is how it's evolved. My portfolio has evolved and it's shaped. And once again, I just make sure that the portfolio is a reflection of me. And if the portfolio is a reflection of you, you've got that passion in there. And with that passion, you put in the time, the effort, the focus to then research those companies. Yeah.
And you make a really great point in terms of sort of, understanding really what you know as well, right? So that it gives you that passion, it gives you that ability. I think there's a very famous saying by Mr. Warren Buffett, please don't invest in a company if you don't know how it makes its revenue. And I think that's really important, because if you're not passionate about something, and it's going to become very difficult to research, it's going to become very difficult to understand the business and how it makes its money. So I think that's always a great place to start, whether that be in crypto or whether that be in traditional sort of finance in terms of stocks, etc. As well. And for those that are interested in having a look at Mimi's portfolio, you can see it all publicly on eToro, as she is a popular investor. So head over to eToro and you can simply search for Mimi's name, and you can view her portfolio and also copy her should you wish as well. Mimi, the crypto landscape does change very quickly. We know that volatility is ultimately par for the course, if you like, for investing into crypto assets. We've seen that volatility over the years, maybe settling down slightly from what we know in history, given the maturity of the asset and maybe the increase in terms of institutional interest. What are some of the things that you consider, though, when it comes to looking at crypto assets, particularly during volatility, during times of change? Because it's quite easy for investors, particularly those that copy you, to panic as well. So any advice, and I'd love to sort of maybe understand a little bit more about how you manage those sort of scenarios.
How I manage volatility, and
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think over time, it's definitely, it comes with experience, most definitely. That's why the psychological aspect does play a part. Is to, when there's a huge crash in the market, it's imperative to just keep your composure, to keep emotion out of it, and then be able to think logically. Look, what I try to, because I do have a lot of copiers, I try to make my posts, I try to reassure everyone that everything will be okay, and try to see every market crash or dip as and as opportunity to buy. I wholeheartedly believe in the industry, and so we need to just look at, okay, what are the facts? What's actually causing the volatility? So if we're looking at the past few days, there's a lot of volatility in both stock and crypto markets, but that's been expected because of the US election that's coming up, and because the in terms of the national polls, the race is quite tight, and when the race is quite tight, there's a lot of volatility because there's a lot of uncertainty. So these are the moments where I would look at, okay, it's a good opportunity to buy, because I'm thinking long term. You've got to think long term. It depends on what your strategy is, but firstly, keep the emotions in check. Try to keep your calm, composure. If you really need to switch off, set your parameters and any buy orders or anything, stop losses, and then just close the screen, go for a walk, speak to some friends, spend time with family, and then get back to it. But the very key thing is just to not be consumed by the fear. And I understand that, and especially in crypto, I've always said, crypto is a beast to be reckoned with, and you need an iron stomach to be able to stomach the really the high volatility that comes with the industry. But with that high volatility, there's a lot of opportunity and opportunity for high gains as well. But yeah, keeping those emotions in check, and then be able to see the opportunity in that volatility.
Yeah, all great points, and I think definitely points that investors can take into this week, because, as I say, it's going to be a big week. There's going to be plenty of uncertainty. Markets hate uncertainty, so zoom out, remember that strategy, remember why you put it in place. Ultimately, it's a good time to look back because you made those decisions when you had a bit of a calmer mind. It was a good decision at the time. So it's always important to look back and remember that strategy that you started with. So final question, Mimi, I just want to wrap it up in terms of, we spoke about risk and volatility there. And I want to understand a little bit more from your side how you're managing a portfolio with thousands of copiers, that look to you. How do you balance that risk, right? Because we mentioned the volatility of the crypto market. Whether you're adjusting the portfolio, what factors do you weigh the most when it comes to sort of balancing risk in crypto?
Well, diversification is key, which we touched on. Just ensuring that you're just not 100% in a specific industry in crypto. Again, diversifying in crypto is not diversification. It's still in cryptocurrency in as a whole. In terms of how I structure my portfolio to manage risk, my top key holdings, crypto holdings, are the ones that are less volatile. So they're much more established. They've been around. They're essentially the OGs, most of them. So I've got the giants there. And then I'll just ensure I've got some tech stocks and also ETFs branching out into renewable energy as well. So making sure there's that balance there, but still keeping true to myself. So that's how I just ensure that there's just a mix of high volatility and extremely low volatility as well. That's how I manage my crypto portfolio. For a portfolio that is quite heavily invested in crypto, I think I'm doing okay. But that's evolved over time. So, yeah.
I'd say you're doing great, Mimi, actually. So, look, I think that's a very, very good point in terms of that diversification because we mentioned earlier about adding maybe a small percentage of crypto to an investment portfolio over time. That volatility, is fantastic. It does have the best risk-adjusted returns, if you like, of any asset globally. So, even adding a small allocation of crypto can be very beneficial. But again, having that balance is also very important in terms of diversification as well. Mimi, thank you so much. As I said earlier, if anyone is interested in looking at Mimi's portfolio, learning more, please head over to the eToro page and search for her name. You will be able to see her on eToro. Mimi, some fantastic insights there, and I think some great points that people can take for the rest of the week, but also for their journey on investing as well. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. And for more insights, as I say, make sure you're following the eToro Australia page for more live webinars. We usually do one of these a month, so make sure to stay tuned in. And if you need anything, feel free to send us a message. We'll be more than happy to help. Thanks, everyone, for joining, and we'll see you next time.